All right, moving on to example number 8. We're going to again use the product rule here and to implicitly derive this thing in order to find dy dx. So if you notice here on the left-hand side, we have this lovely product, this x squared times the quantity x minus 2y squared. So for that, we're going to need to use the product rule because we have two functions in x that are being multiplied together. The right-hand side is pretty self-explanatory. So let's work on deriving the left-hand side of this thing. Just using the product rule, we're going to derive the first thing, leave the second one alone, and then add on when we leave the first alone and derive the second thing. Of course, we have to do this implicitly. All right, so going to town with this, let's handle the purple underlined thing first. So we derive that. That gives us 2 times x. And then we have to then we leave the second thing alone, x minus 2y squared. All right, then we add on, leave the first alone, so we have x squared times the derivative of the second. So notice that we have to use the chain rule here because we have this x minus 2y inside the square. So we have to use our usual approach, take the 2, move it down in front, just using the power rule in conjunction with the chain rule. And then we multiply by the derivative of the green underlined thing. So doing this is going to give us 2 times x minus 2y, because chain rule, leave the inside alone. Then you multiply by the derivative of the inside, where the derivative of the inside is going to be 1 minus 2y prime, because we're deriving y. Okay, so, and then on the right-hand side, that derivative is very easy. It's just 2x. Okay, so the next part of this strategy, okay, that's a power of 1. I'm going to get rid of that. So the next part of the strategy is to try to get all your y prime stuff by itself. So notice that we have this y prime locked inside this parentheses here. Your one option is to FOIL out all of this stuff, but I do not recommend this. Just leave it locked inside this parentheses because it'll be easier to solve for y prime later once we get all of our non-y prime stuff, that is, this stuff, over to the right-hand side. You'll see what I mean in a second. So basically we have a grouping of y prime stuff here inside this set of parentheses. We'll deal with that later. So for the time being, what we're going to do is we're going to subtract away this 2x times x minus 2y, quantity squared. We're going to do that from both sides. Okay, rewriting. This gives us x squared from the second term here times 2 times x minus 2y times the quantity 1 minus 2y prime. And then this is going to be equal to 2x minus 2x times x minus 2y squared. Okay? So far so good. Now, notice again, we still have this lovely 1 minus 2y prime stuck inside this parentheses. Again, you could FOIL out all of this. Do not do that. What instead we're going to do is notice that since we're multiplying all of this stuff, we're going to divide that over so we get this parentheses by itself. So let's go to town and do that. Divide that over. Show all the work for it, just for the sake of being pedantic. Okay, divide that over, rewrite. So then we have 1 minus 2y prime. That's equal to 2x minus 2x times x minus 2y squared all over this x squared times 2, I'll put that out in front, times x minus 2y. Okay, so now we're really close to getting this y prime by itself. So one thing we can do now is drop the parentheses because we're not really doing anything with them anymore. Then we can subtract 1 from both sides and then divide by negative 2. So that's going to be the way that we go about doing this. So subtract 1 from both sides. Rewrite everything. So we have minus 2 y prime is equal to 2x minus 2x x minus 2y squared over 2x squared times x minus 2y minus 1. And then the final step, as you can imagine, is just divide both sides by this -2. Or if you like, multiply by a -1/2. That'll make your life a lot easier. So I'm going to just put this in a giant parentheses and multiply by -1/2. Same thing as dividing by 2. Or dividing by -2 in this case. So, final answer, y prime is equal to this massive nastiness thing. So we have -1/2 times 2x minus 2x, x minus 2, y squared, all over 2x squared times x minus 2y minus 1, all inside these parentheses here. And that is your final answer. You could definitely stop here. You could also simplify a little bit. Notice that we have our x here and an x here. We have a 2 here and a 2 here. We can factor that out. And then we can cancel one of our x's down here in the denominator and kill off this 2 as well. That is something that you can definitely do. I'm not going to do that here. The final answer would suffice. I mean, this is basically the final answer, so you're good to stop here. If you like, notice that y prime is the same thing as dy dx, and you've done exactly what the problem asks you to do.